Hey guys, I just want to make a quick video that's going to show you how you can automate your link pushing submissions. What we're going to be using is a combination of iMacro. I used it on Chrome. You can use it on Firefox. I believe it'll work the same way, but personally I prefer Chrome browser. They came out with a Chrome version, so that's what I'm using. We're going to be using that. You're going to be using Notepad plus plus. Um, I love it. It's a whole lot more features than the regular Notepad. You have a lot of editing you can do. It's an all-around great program. And we're going to be using Excel, which you can use OpenOffice. Basically, you need some way to do a spreadsheet and to make a CSV file. First, what I want to do is I just want to take a quick look at the script, and I'm sure the script will be available to you to use. Pretty sure Greg will make it available somewhere on the blog. Go ahead and open up iMacros, and over here is the script, and we'll just take a quick look at the script, see what it's made up of, and then I'll show you how you can format your Excel file um, to work with the script to automate your submissions. And first, before we even do that, we'll do some pretty cool stuff with Notepad and Excel and how you can work with some of your links and get everything set up. It's really easy. The first line is basically it's ignoring errors. Sometimes you're not going to get 100% submission. I know a lot of times you'll have it where it can't find an article. I'm sure we've all seen that. If you don't manually submit your own articles, sometimes you can't find one and it won't submit it. What this is this is going to continue on and submitting the rest of your link pushes even if it finds an error. Data source, this is going to be where it finds our file that we're going to use. I'm going to be naming it LP5. I make a new data file pretty much for every campaign just so I can keep track of it. This one's going to be named linkpush5.csv. It's very important right here, the columns, the data source columns, you want three. The first column is going to be for your title, the second for your keywords, and the third is for your URL to your content. So it's definitely important that that shows three right there. And what this loop means is after it goes through and submitting your first one, it's going to continue looping around until it's submitted all the link pushes in our file here. Then the next line, URL go to. This is going to be our the URL where it goes to create a new link push. And then what we have here first is column 1. This is going to be our title for our link push. Column 2 will be our keywords, and column 3 will be our URL. And once we get it set up, you'll be able to see how these relate in. Right here, this is where it's going to be selecting the category it's going to be submitted to. I usually use business, but if you want, you can replace this word with whatever category you wanted to. And then I always choose include docs, and that's what this is right here. And finally, the last line is our submission button to submit the link push. Now, if you want, you can go ahead, if you don't want to submit the docs, just take out this whole line right here. If you don't want it to submit, if you just want it to fill the information, you can actually take out this line. And I'll actually show you another link push I do have, not a link push, another script I have set up is a no submit script. And what this is basically after I go through and it's done all the automated ones it can do, this isn't a perfect process. So I usually have to go back and compare my links with the pushes that it's made and see if it skipped any, see if it had an error. I did 200 recently and I had like 10 or 11 that didn't go through. And what I did then is I ran this script on them. I took out all the ones that submitted and then I made a CSV file that had just the ones that didn't submit. And what's different about this one is after it selects include docs, it does not click submit. What it actually does is it waits for 30 seconds, and you can change this to whatever you want, but this waits for 30 seconds, which gives me time to, after it clicks docs and it fills in the information, I can then manually go in, type my keywords, and manually select my article that I want to use and hit submit on the link push for myself. And it'll show this 30 seconds. It'll show up here in the corner, at least in Chrome right here, how much time you got left. And what that allows me to do is go through. It'll fill in all the information, the keywords, the URL, the title, but I can select manually select my article and submit it. And then after 30 seconds, it'll go on to the next link push in line. So it's kind of a hybrid between doing it manually and being able to select what article you want to use but it'll still fill in the main information for you. So this is helpful if you want a more hands-on approach, but you don't want to be copying URLs and you don't want to be copying keywords and typing all that in. This is a really good script too. So now what we'll do is we'll take a look at how to set up the CSV file. Um, One thing I like to do, and I think a lot of people do, is when I make my titles, I use WordPress constantly. And so the titles of my posts or my pages, they're going to be my keywords. So a lot of times I'll have my main link push keywords set up to be the same as the title of my blog. Now, what we're going to be needing is a CSV, like I said, with a keyword and the title and a URL. Well, the easiest way I found to get my titles is to go to my sitemap, and instead of having to type all these in, I'll show you real quick how you can get all the titles that you need and the keywords and everything straight from these. And what I'm going to do is just going to go ahead and copy some of these. I'm not going to do them all, don't need them all. We're going to copy those and we're going to paste it just into a blank Excel sheet here. Just paste it right in as so. And if it pastes these, you don't need these. All you want right now are just your URLs. Now first, what I like to do is I like to get rid of them. Right now they're still clickable, and it's kind of hard to work with them when they're clickable because you'll click it and then it'll take you to the page. If you pop over to Notepad++ and just paste them in, it's going to paste them in just as plain text. So go ahead, paste them in like that, copy them again, go ahead and delete your first ones and repaste them. This time I pasted it over in the third column because this is actually going to be the notebook, the workbook that I use for submitting my link pushes. And so what I have right here is I actually already have my URL set up that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to be using these. Now what I want to do is I want to get a title and I want to get a keyword that I want to be using. So I already have them back in here. And here's where a feature that I know a lot of people know about, but some people don't really know how powerful it is. It's the search and replace. Now, if you highlight any text and you hit Control H, it's going to come up with this replace feature. And what's cool about this is you can it'll enter in here whatever you have highlighted and replace with. Just leave it blank. Make sure there's nothing in there. And what that's going to do, that's going to take out all of our first part of the URL. So now we're left with pretty much our keywords, but we can take this farther. If we then type in all the slashes and leave this blank, replace all, it'll get rid of those. And then finally, type in our hyphens, but this time I want to leave a space because there are spaces in between the words, so I'll put a space in there, hit replace all, and it's going to take out all the hyphens, and what I'm left with are my keywords. So then I can just highlight those, come back into my book, and there's my titles. And of course, because I just took that out when I did the replace, I'll have to type that in. But it's a lot easier typing one than 200. Alright, so now we have our titles for our link pushes, and we have our URLs all set up. Now for the keywords. Now, sometimes you want to use multiple keywords. Maybe the way I would really set this up is I would have 3 keywords. You're getting that option of link pushing, and it's almost essential if you're going to be doing automated submissions. The important thing is sometimes when it's doing, if you don't manually select your article, it's going to take your keywords and it's going to look for an article. If it can't find it from your first keyword, it's going to go to your second. And if it can't find an article for that keyword, it's going to go to your third. So what I like to do is I like to create 3 keywords that I want to be using. The first one is very specific to the post that I'm going to be making. The second one is going to be not as specific. And the third one I'm going to do very broad. For if you can't find an article for any of the others, then I just want a very broad keyword. So for this one, a buddy of mine already set up some stuff, some link pushes that he wanted to do. And as you can see, he actually listed 3 separate keywords here. Keyword 1, keyword 2, and keyword 3. It's not exactly the same how we were, where he was, but for the most part, as you can see, planting cherry trees, very specific. Second one, cherry tree planting. The third one, very broad, cherry trees. So it's going to look for an article related to your specific, and then an article related to your not so specific, and then very broad. Now, what we need to do is, as I said, our first column is going to be our title. Our second is all our keywords in one column. So what we need to do is we need to put a comma in between all these keywords. And it's actually very easy. All we're going to do is we're going to hop back into our notepad, paste that in. And one cool thing is when you paste from Excel, even though it may look like just a single space, the spaces in between your words, your columns, when you paste in from Excel, is actually in multiple spaces. Whereas in between individual words, it's only a small space. This works perfect because what you can do is you can use a search and replace thing again the same way and enter in your comma. So and even right here, it doesn't look like it's as wide, but it still is. Even though that looks wider, the computer still sees it as the same amount of spaces. So if you just highlight any one of the spaces, hit Control H, and leave this as is, don't change that area. Then come down here, we want a comma, space in between each word, or each set of keywords. Hit Replace All, and there we go. There's our three columns, our three keywords for each link push. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use his that he has set up here. We're going to be using that for our submissions. So what we have here is our title. Now I'm going to paste in, go ahead and delete these so I can have my three columns. I want to paste in my keywords. And that is how we set up our CSV file that we're going to be using. We have our title, our keywords, and our URL. So now we're going to save this, and just real quick, if you look over, at least in Chrome, if you come in here and you look in Preferences, right here is where you'll find where you need to save all your data files that iMacro is going to use. If it's not saved in here, it won't find it. So that's where I'm going to save my data file to, which I'm already there in data sources. I'm going to make this cherry tree. I'll just go ct.csv and change this to CSV. So there we go, ct.csv, and you can see some of my previous link pushes, and then hit save. And it's going to give you an error every time just because that's how Excel does. Just hit OK and yes. Okay. Now, when you open up this, we got to go back into our link push and hit edit macro, and I just got to make sure ct.csv. That's going to have the same name as our previous. And just quick recap, it's going to go to a new link push right here, the URL. Our column 1 is going to fill in our title. Our column 2 of our Excel file is going to fill in our keywords, and our column 3 is going to fill in our URL. It's going to choose the business category. It's going to include docs, and then it's going to click submit. And that is all. Now all we will need to do is select that. And here's one important thing that I forget. I forget a lot of times when I'm just setting it up if I'm in a rush. You have to choose loop where it says play loop. And even more important is where it says current, 1, max, whatever. You need to set the max to however many link pushes you need to submit. This one is 14. So what I'll need to do is I'll come in and go max 14, and that'll loop through that file 14 times, which should be all my link pushes. So with that selected, I simply hit play loop and it'll start going through them. So we're going to hit play, and what it's going to do is it's going to navigate to the page. It's going to enter information, hit submit keyword details, and as you can see, all the information has been entered. Our title of our link push, our keywords, our URL, selected business, and selected included docs. And it's done. Now it's completed through the loop, so what it's going to do is it's going to go back to the submit, and it's going to go to our next one. And we'll wait just one more, and then I'll go ahead and stop it for this video, but we'll watch one more go through. And as you can see, we have a very specific keyword. Very specific keyword, not as specific, and then very broad. Now what I'll do is I'm going to actually run through real quick as one last thing. Go ahead and stop that. I'll run through the no submit aspect of the script. Let me go ahead and remove these three that we have already done. And that's the thing, if you do stop it and you hit play loop again or you start it again, it's going to start it from the beginning of the file. So let me remove these three. And we will save that again. I just want to make sure it's going to save it as a CSV. Hit OK, hit OK. OK. Now I need to make sure that this one is set up for CT, the name of our file. And as you can see, this has a 30-second wait. Computer's running a little slow today, so I want to put it 35 seconds. That should be enough. Save and close. And now hit 11 because I only have 11 left. Hit play loop. And it's going to go through the same way, except this time it's not going to hit the submit button. So now I have time to, if I can't find anything, say I just want to look for an article for trees. And right up here in the corner, you'll see the amount of seconds you have left. We'll use that one. Then hit submit. And I still have 9 seconds. And what's nice though is if you're running out of time, 3, 2, you can hit pause and it'll pause the video. And once your submission has gone through, simply hit play again and it'll continue on. And you can see now it's going to the second line and it'll continue on, and I can manually select the article again for the next one. So if you do prefer manually selecting your article, you can do this way too. But overall, that's the way that I automatically submit my link pushes. It works great. It's not perfect, but when you're submitting 100, 200 link pushes at once, if you're able to get all your keywords listed in that CSV file, if you can mass do that and create that CSV file, take 5 or 10 minutes, then you can just start this and let it run and you'll be good to go.